This movie now holds the record for longest American animated film of all time. 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's impressive. And having just watched it, I am now emotionally drained. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is Sony's sequel to their mega hit Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That movie blew up, it did numbers, it won all sorts of awards, so this sequel was inevitable. Across the Spider-Verse takes place, I think it's a year and a half after Into the Spider-Verse. And, okay, how to describe the premise? Keeping it vague, Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man, becomes entangled with a new multiverse adventure, which reunites him with Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, brings him face to face with Miguel OHara, aka Spider-Man 2099, who has a big problem with Miles. We don't really know what it is, but bad things are happening, and so here we go. Like I said, vague. And yeah, this movie... Look, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, alright? And I have been one for over 20 years now. So when I see a new Spider-Man story that just does things that I've never seen in a Spider-Man story before, color me impressed. Alright, our main hero Spider-Man, aka Miles Morales, once again voiced by Shameik Moore. He is such a good protagonist. Cause this is the classic story of Spider-Man. He has to save everyone cause he's a superhero. He has to give it his all, otherwise he would feel like he didn't do enough. You know, he has that great responsibility on his shoulders that comes with his great power. You really feel that with him in this movie. I'll say, man, he goes through the ringer this time around. And Spider-Gwen, once again voiced by Hailee Steinfeld. She is a lot more prominent in this movie than she was in Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse, she was prominent-ish. She was a supporting character. In this movie, I would say she's like the other main character. Yeah, she got a promotion. And she's awesome. She's a great other main character for this movie. She has her own story arc that she's going through. Not gonna spoil what it is, but it's fantastic. And her chemistry with Miles Morales, I mean, it's really sweet. It's very well written. You're rooting for them. You're like, come on. You want them to form a romance because you feel that attraction that they have to each other. Because they've been through similar things in their lives. They bond over that. It's great. But switching gears to Miguel OHara, Spider-Man 2099, voiced by Oscar Isaac. He is the villain in this movie, and he's awesome. And by awesome, I mean scary beyond all reason. He's a pretty menacing dude. And usually the way I see villains in movies is there are two kinds of good villains. There's the villain that's sympathetic, you get his backstory and his cause. And then there's the villain that's just so menacing and scary, that's his whole thing. Like, minus the sympathy. They're such a good villain because of their presence. Like Sebastian Shaw, Kevin Bacon in X-Men First Class comes to mind. Miguel OHara is the rare case where he is both kinds of those villains. He is scary and he has a presence, but there is also sympathy to his character that I'm not going to spoil. But I was blown away by how impacted I was by Miguel OHara in this movie. Props to that character, man. And lastly, I do want to talk about The Spot, another new villain voiced by Jason Schwartzman. The trailers didn't really touch on him a lot, so I'm not going to say much, but I will say he was really cool in this movie as well, both visually and presence-wise. That's all I'm going to say. Now folks, let's just dive into the meat of this movie, huh? My biggest takeaway from this Spider-Man movie in particular was the stakes. This movie knew how to present high stakes in a superhero movie, in a Spider-Man movie. I'm serious, dude. For most of this movie, I was experiencing that anxiety. I was like, oh my god, what is gonna happen? There are a lot of surprises, I'll say. I mean, not just in the Easter eggs, which yes, there are a lot of those in here. Like, I would almost say that this movie had just as many Easter eggs and references as the Super Mario Bros. Movie has. Especially when Miles Morales goes to this Spider Society place. You know, you saw in the trailer where there are all these different variants of Spider-Man around. There's a lot to see. There's a lot where if you're a fan, you're gonna be like, oh, I know that, I know that, I know that. Yep, that's what I was doing. And just like with Mario, I am not gonna complain about it. It was fun seeing everything. But you know, that's not the point of this movie. It doesn't rely on all those Easter eggs and references. The story of Miles Morales is first and foremost absolutely. And yeah, this movie takes the Spider-Verse to the next level. That was one of the most mind-blowing things about the movie for me, is that some things happen, I saw some things where I was like, oh my god, that is escalation, no spoilers, never mind. I just want to talk about it. There's gonna be a spoiler talk for sure. And of course, with all the high stakes and all the escalation and all the Easter eggs and all the fun, this movie does not shy away from the dramatic emotions as well. Oh yeah, this movie's gonna tug at the heartstrings of every Spider fan. I can almost guarantee it. One big part of that is the relationship that Miles Morales has with his parents, which is something relatively new for me with Spider-Man. Since, the one I grew up with, Peter Parker, he didn't have parents. I'd say Miles' relationship with his parents is one of the most prominent things in this movie. And again, it was written really well. Okay, I gotta give all sorts of props to the masters, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. These guys know how to write. My shout out to them has been long overdue. And yeah, now I just want them to write everything. Yeah, every movie that comes out from now on, can they just write them all? Can they be the only writers in Hollywood, provided they're paid fairly? They never miss. One of the things I really love about this movie is that it takes its time. Some people might think that this movie has a really long setup, but I appreciated the hell out of that. Given so many animated movies these days tend to rush through the dramatic scenes, this movie slows down, takes its time, lets us feel all the emotions. Yes, thank you. That's what we want. This movie knew that. Alright, now lastly, let's touch on the music. The score, once again composed by Daniel Pemberton. He brings back that awesome orchestral fanfare, that bum-ba-bum. I love that theme from Miles. It was great in Into the Spider-Verse. It's awesome now in Across the Spider-Verse. As for the soundtrack though, I will say, just in my own opinion, I don't think any of the songs are gonna be like as classic and as huge as, say, Sunflower was, for example, in Into the Spider-Verse, or What's Up Danger. There weren't really any moments in this movie with me where I was like, oh, this song is making this scene. Whereas in Into the Spider-Verse, yeah, the What's Up Danger scene where he leaps off the building and he starts swinging, that was awesome. Again, that's just my opinion about the music though. But in the end, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is proper sequel escalation. This is The Empire Strikes Back, this is The Dark Knight, this is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It raises the stakes for Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse. Like, Into the Spider-Verse seems so small now compared to this movie. This one brings Spider-Man up to the next level, and I don't see how we can ever go back. Honestly, at the present moment, I cannot decide whether I like this movie more than Spider-Man No Way Home, which that is saying a lot. In other words, for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I will say, go see this movie right now. As for the credits, there is a little mid-credits moment, but there is actually no post-credits scene here. Trust me, I stayed after the credits. There isn't one. Just a heads up. So, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, have you seen it yet? It's a little early at the time I'm uploading this. So if you haven't seen it yet, how excited are you for it? And or if you have seen it, what are your thoughts on it? And where does it rank among all the Spider-Man movies for you? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing.